So whenever I've been getting the question of how Jordan Peterson has influenced me and what the most important lesson has been and what I've learned, I find myself not really being able to give a good answer. And most importantly, I haven't been able to give a practical answer. You know, it's easy to say, well, he inspired me to take more responsibility, let's say. But what does that really mean? Like, if you know anything about me in this channel, you know that I like when things are practical. So just saying that someone inspired you to be more responsible, it doesn't really mean anything unless you give it some context. So I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and I've tried to think about how his lessons have actually impacted my life in a practical way, like from my perspective and what it's really meant for my life. So I tried to narrow down kind of the most important lessons for me, and I came up with 4 kind of categories, and I'm going to talk about them today. So, victimhood is the first one.
How do you overcome the suffering of life? Is be a better person. That's how you do it. Well, that's hard. It takes responsibility. And I think, you know, if you said to someone, you want to have a meaningful life? Everything you do matters. That's the definition of a meaningful life. But everything you do matters. So you're going to have to carry that with you. Or do you want to just forget about the whole meaning thing, and then you don't have any responsibility because who the hell cares, and you can wander through life doing whatever you want, gratifying impulsive desires for how useful that's going to be, and you're stuck in meaninglessness, but you don't have any responsibility. Which one do you want? Well, ask yourself, which one are you pursuing?
Whenever I find myself trying to justify being irresponsible or being lazy, I always go back to the fact that I'm no victim and no one is going to do anything for me. You know, no one is going to make you become the person you're trying to become, and no one is going to give you the life that you want to live, because no one owes you that. And that's the thing with victim identity, is you think that people owe you things. You think that someone owes you a love life or friendship or a career or happiness and meaning, when in reality no one owes you that. And that's so important to realize, because once you truly become aware of that and you apply that mindset, you will never use excuses again. And I find myself, you know, that's been so important to me and such a drastic change in my life, that I never ever put the blame on anyone else. Ever. The second thing is communication skills.
You need to learn to think, because thinking makes you act effectively in the world. Thinking makes you win the battles you undertake, and those could be battles for good things. If you can think and speak and write, you are absolutely deadly. Nothing can get in your way.
I've always been writing, but I've never really understand why I've been enjoying it so much, because I've been writing since I was a little kid, and it's always been kind of an escape in a way. Not like in a bad way, just in an interesting way, you know, because you kind of discover parts of yourself that you might not have known existed, because you get to really dig deep into your mind and you get to think. And I didn't really realize that that's what was happening, and that's why I was enjoying writing so much, until I started watching Jordan's lectures. And then the speaking thing I think is so important too, because often people are kind of afraid of silence, right? So when you have a conversation with someone and you kind of want to answer them right away, because it's awkward taking a few seconds to kind of think about what you're wanting to say. But I've started doing that, and then listening. And this one is huge, because and Jordan talks about this a lot, whenever you're having an argument with someone, let's say a partner or whatever, you're usually going into it very defensive, and your goal is just to be right, and you want the other person to be defeated and agree with you and tell you that you're right, and then you'll feel like you've won the battle. But it's such a stupid mindset, because it's not going to get you anywhere. And the idea should be to exchange perspectives with that person. If you really think about it, every single person on this earth has a different perspective on things, because no one has heard or seen or experienced or felt the things that that person has felt and seen and heard. It's very interesting, and it's so valuable, and we don't really value that in other people. We think we're right and our way is the way, so we kind of shut everyone else off and just want them to listen to us. And I never do that now. And it's really helped me become a more understanding person. And then reading, oh gosh. Jordan has inspired me to, I've always enjoyed reading, but to just explore so much more in literature, and to really take my time with what I'm reading. So there's so much pressure going on right now, I feel like, of reading as much as you can and read a book a day or a book a week, and I'm not for that. Take your time with one book, and once you're done with it, put it aside, really reflect on it and think about what you've learned. Don't just rush through it in order to get to the next one and the next one, so you can say that you've read 50 books this year. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to me, at least. If you can tell me valuable things that you've learned from each book, that's amazing. But if you can't, you're just giving me a number. That's very meaningless. All right. The third thing is courage.
You're a terrible writer, but if someone put a gun to your head and said, you have to have your 100-page thesis done by next Monday, or I'll shoot you, but I don't care how terrible it is, you would sit down and write it. And the thing is, then you have it, right? Then you have something, and then you can fix it. You can iterate and fix it. That bad first draft, that's the most valuable thing, and so that's what you need. You need a bad first draft of yourself.
Everyone is afraid of taking the first step, and afraid of letting go of things, and going for their dreams and their passions or whatever. And the reason for that, partly is because we're scared of looking foolish. But the thing is, until you take that first step, you don't have anything to work on. Because in order to have something to work on, first of all, you need to have something out there. You need to have done something. And then when you've done that, you can get feedback, and people can tell you what they think, and you can get different perspectives and ideas from other people. But if you don't have a product, nothing at all, you have nothing to work on. So there is no way you can improve. You need to have that first product. You need to have something to show people, something to present, or to show yourself. It doesn't have to be for the world. It can be some personal goal that you have, something you're trying to improve about yourself. You need to just take that first step. And what Jordan, the way he inspired me in that way is he really made me realize that it's okay to look like an idiot. It's okay to look like a fool. And, it takes a lot more courage to risk, being perceived as an idiot than to not doing that at all. Okay, the last thing. Seek meaning, not happiness.
The problem with the pursuit of happiness is that when life's storms come along, happiness disappears, and then you're left with nothing. And so you need to pursue something that's deeper than happiness. And if happiness comes along, well then, hooray for you. You don't want to despise it because it's fleeting, but it's much better to pursue things that are meaningful than things that make you happy.
I see happiness in life as peaks. So this is your normal state in life, right? Kind of something like that. And then happiness is those peaks, you know, something amazing happened and you're thrilled about it, so it kind of peaks, right? And then it kind of lasts. It might last for a day or maybe just a few hours, maybe it lasts for a week, you know. The point is, it doesn't last for too long, usually. So you're kind of like this, and you have this peak of happiness, and then you're back to your normal state. And, you know, meaning is more permanent. This is how I see it. So meaning is part of your everyday normal state. Happiness is not, because happiness is more peaks of things. So if you live a life striving for moments of happiness, you know, you're striving for those peak moments, your life will look something like this. And I think that's dangerous because you will be seeking out thrills or, you know, riskful things and things that might be bad for you, like instant gratification and whatnot, because you're not content with your normal state. So you're just looking for those peaks. On the other hand, if your normal state has meaning in it, whatever meaning means to you, and I think that's the part I'm still trying to figure out for myself as well, you won't be as tempted to seek out those peak moments. Okay, so how can you find meaning then? I found is through experiences. So this might be, you know, real life experiences in terms of, you know, putting yourself out there, you know, going on events and traveling and just being out there in the world. Or it can be, you know, through art. So through books and movies and music or whatever it might be. You know, if you really explore the world, and you don't just have to go out there and do crazy things, you know, books are so valuable and you can find pieces of yourself in places where you might have never thought you would. So don't just play it safe by listening to the same music that you've always listened to or reading the same books that you know, the genre that you've always loved. You know, you need to go beyond that and you need to see what else is out there. You know, try fiction, try poetry, and, you know, go to museums that you don't think you're going to enjoy, and hang out with people or go to events that's not really your cup of tea even, because like I said, you are going to find pieces of yourself in places where you never thought you would. And that's so valuable. And once, you know, you find enough pieces, you're going to discover parts of yourself that are going to give you this meaning. And that's what it's been like for me. And it's so interesting because you are so much more than you think you are. You know, you might think that you're plain and you don't really have any interests and, you know, your life is kind of boring, but, you know, how much have you put yourself out there? How much have you been seeking? The thing is, and this goes back to responsibility, you know, no one is going to hand an identity or meaning over to you. You need to be out there. You need to be looking for it actively. And please share in the comments, you know, how you have applied whatever you have learned from someone else into your life and what outcome. You know, tell me about the outcome. Tell me about the result. How did it change you? How did it help you? Like, give me an example. Give me examples. Share with other people, you know, to help them kind of apply different, you know, apply knowledge and wisdom or whatever to their lives, instead of just telling them about it. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in my next one.